Okay, without further ado, I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. My name is Liz Sondhaus, and I am the president of Women's Voices Raised for Social Justice. We're very, very glad to see everyone here tonight and everyone joining us on Zoom and Facebook. We open our meetings with a land acknowledgement, so I'd like to do that first. We begin this gathering by acknowledging that we are on the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Osage Nation, Missouri, Illinois Confederacy, and many other tribes who were and are custodians of the land where we reside, occupy, and call home. We recognize their sovereignty was never ceded after unjust removal. We give appreciation to these indigenous people for use of their stolen lands. In offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm and support tribal sovereignty, history, and experiences by elders, past, present, and generations yet to come through their connection to this land. Today, there are over 183,400 Native Americans living in the state of Missouri. So thank you for that. Before we get started, I will make a few announcements. As always, we welcome all our guests and all our members. If you are not yet a member, I would encourage you to go up to our website, see all the wonderful things we have going on, all the terrific people who are a part of our organization, and maybe consider joining yourself. But certainly you're welcome at anything, and you can certainly join any activity we're doing without membership, but we love having our members. And if you've let your membership lapse for some reason, it's a great time to renew. The spring is starting, everything's in bloom. It's time to bloom right back into Women's Voices. Sorry for the bad joke. Okay. Now, I do want to let you know before this program starts, we have one remaining program in our season. We run from September to May. So I want to let you know that our next program is called Hungering for Justice, Solving Food Insecurity, which, as we all know, is a very serious issue in St. Louis and, of course, across the nation. It will be here at the Clayton Center and online Thursday, May 11th, 7 p.m. You can register on our website. So just go up to womensvoicesraised.org to register for that. So I believe that's it for my announcements. I want to turn the program over to Carol Woofsy, who is, did I say it wrong? Woofsy. I'm very sorry. And she is the co-chair of our Racial Justice Committee, and she will be introducing our guest speakers and also moderating the discussion. Thank you.
Carol, I'm not sure that's on. It's on the very bottom of the mic. Just hold it down. Could you hear me okay? Oh, yeah.
I could hear. Testing. Yeah, I think it's on. No.
It's on.
How about that?
No.
No. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and she's going to try to fix it. That one's going to be for the speakers. We really need three, but we have two. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight and being here. And we're going to have to move this probably. Our topic tonight is Women Mayors Talking, How Gender, Race, and Politics Intersect in Our Communities. Recent St. Louis elections have resulted in the election of numerous women to local public offices, including many in the top political positions of their jurisdictions. Tonight, we will explore whether and how race and gender of our elected officials affects the successful and equitable administration of our municipal governments, as well as challenges women mayors may experience along the way. But first, let me introduce our three speakers, and we are going to have them sit in front. So maybe as I introduce you, you could walk through. Our first speaker is Laura Arnold, who in 2021 was elected Webster Groves' first new mayor in almost a quarter century. Hello. And I believe she's also a member. Mayor Arnold is a retired college professor with research and teaching focus on American government and politics. This is much better, isn't it? Her career included positions at SIU Carbondale, Webster University, and the University of Missouri St. Louis. Her research has appeared in the American Political Science Review, Legislative Studies Quarterly, Political Science Quarterly, and Congress and the Presidency. She's also active in several community organizations, including serving as chair of the steering committee of Arts and Faith St. Louis and on the board of directors of Webster Rock Hill Ministries. She is also an active member of the Webster Groves Presbyterian Church. She earned a BA in political science from Northwestern, an MA from GW, and a PhD in political science from The Ohio State University. Our second mayor, Ella Jones, was elected mayor of Ferguson in 2020, the city that infamously propelled the Black Lives Matter movement to international attention. And at that time, she became its first African-American and first woman mayor. Mayor Jones graduated from UMSL with a BA in chemistry. She's certified by the American Chemical Society as a high-pressure liquid chromatographer and completed training as a pharmacy technician. Her career includes positions as a peptide specialist in the biochemistry molecular biophysics department at WashU School of Medicine and as an analytical chemist at KB Pharmaceuticals. Mayor Jones also served many years as a sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics, a varied career. Mayor Jones is a member of the Missouri Annual Conference in the 5th Episcopal District. She was ordained an itinerant elder from St. Paul AME Church, the mother church of African Methodism west of the Mississippi. Mayor Jones is a director of the Emerson YMCA and of Metro Market, a guild member of the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, founder of Community Forward, Inc., and of the annual Unity Weekend, as well as an appointed member of the EPA's Small Community Advisory Subcommittee. Nikylan Knapper, and did I get that right? Yes. Okay. Became the first Black mayor of Maplewood in 2022. She is the mother of Theodore, Lyndon, and Grant. Prior to becoming mayor, and those are children, the oldest is 10, if I remember correctly. Nikylan served as a director for the Maplewood Richmond Heights School Board. She is an attorney who has also served communities as an assistant public defender for Davidson County in Tennessee, an attorney for Legal Aid Society of Middle Tennessee, and attorney for the U.S. Department of Labor. Currently, Mayor Knapper is an administrative judge for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Inspired by Thurgood Marshall, Nikylan has dedicated her legal career to public service, and she is focused on working to ensure that equity and anti-racism is embedded in local laws and policies. So, we have three very distinguished women who happen to be mayors in the metropolitan St. Louis area. What are they going to talk about tonight? Well, first, I'm going to ask each of them one by one to speak a few minutes about their municipality, their government, and their experience over the last couple of years. We are going to try to use that microphone. Okay, so since you are on the far right from me,
I would say to defer to my more senior colleagues.
Well, Okay, we can do it that way.
No, Mayor Jones just gave me the wave, so I'm gonna follow directions here. Thank you. Yeah, Laura, do we need to turn this? Is that the idea?
Well, it's me, yeah, that's, you have to unmute it though, so that's the only way that people on Zoom will be.
Okay, that's,
So we
okay.
Need that one for now.
As soon as that one is muted.
Oh,
Thank you, you're sitting with the iPad.
it's not an iPad. I can't, I have to click it.
I can get it if you want. Oh, yeah, that's all you have to do is just click on it.
And of course, I've almost forgotten what I'm supposed to talk about, but I think I remember. I'll start with a little bit about Webster Groves. Webster Groves, as I'm sure many of you know, and some of you in this room are from Webster Groves. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for being here. Is one of the inner ring suburbs among the older suburbs in St. Louis. We are at a population of about 24,000 right now. Grew about 1,000 people over the last census to census, which I think is pretty good for us, given that we are pretty much fully built as a community. I serve as mayor, which makes me a member of the city council and the presiding officer of the city council, but we have a strong city manager system. So essentially the CEO of our city government is our city manager. The reference was made to me taking over after a very long serving mayor. Our city manager has been there now 2 years. She took over from a city manager who had served 18 years. So we are a lot of change for our community in a very short amount of time. And I will say there's been some disruption with that change. I think it's necessary. I think in the end, we're going in a good direction, but you can't transition that much and not have some bumps in the road. So, you know, I'll keep it at that because I know for me, at least the most interesting part is talking with these ladies. So.
Hi, thank you, Nikylan Knapper. Appreciate the invitation to sit on this panel with these wonderfully strong women. Serious. Oh, that's right. We do need to turn this. Okay. Hey, y'all. So I am from actually Middle Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, specifically. So that's where that y'all comes from. Excuse me, I am the mayor of Maplewood. Maplewood is also a part of the inner city ring of, I call them suburbs, but
Yes,
you know, yeah. So we have 8,100 people in Maplewood, and Maplewood, when it was established in 1908, it was a kind of like a bedroom community, and at one point we had a council, some councils that were actually trying to get it back to that, and the goal was to essentially be like Webster Groves. And then you have transplants like myself and some other community members that are like, we like Webster Groves, y'all are real cute, but respectfully, Maplewood is different. We just do things differently. I mean, they elected someone that says y'all at a meeting, so excuse me, but our community is extremely focused on ensuring that people that want to be in Maplewood can remain in Maplewood. We are seeing gentrification come through like a bulldozer, and it's frustrating for our community because we recognize that there is value in having a diverse socioeconomic group of people in our community. And so right now we have I think a wonderful council, and like Webster Groves, our local government is a charter government. And so we have a city manager that does majority of the work, save policy. I make sure that our council has our hand on that because that's, to me, that's our responsibility. And so we too have a he likes to say he's new. I tell my city manager, you're not new anymore, man. You've reached your year, so like let's stop. But no, he still likes to say he's new. So we have a new city manager as well. He's been with us for going on 2 years, and it is a good combination for the council that we have and our city manager, because we really are on the same page. He cares about what we care about. He cares about making sure that people can stay in our community. He cares about families being able to live in our community, and he is supportive of seeing the development of affordable housing in our community. So we're doing well. It's a lot of work, but it's good. So thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. The Mayor of Ferguson, we were propelled on the international scene with the fatal shooting of Michael Brown. I've been a resident of Ferguson for 45 years. That's a long time. I watched Ferguson grow. In addition to that, you all know we just hired a new police chief, Troy Doyle. He's very good. He's what Ferguson needs. Ferguson is we're the third largest city in North County. The population is 18,527, 68% African American. We are growing. Right now, we have an interim city manager. We are a charter city, council-led with the city manager. Right now, our interim city manager is the fire chief. So he's doing 2 jobs. I just recently been re-elected. A lot of people are excited, but some are not, but that's okay. But we are growing. We're a very diverse community. I'm very passionate about our seniors. We are in the process of having senior citizens apartment building built, simply because seniors want to age in place. You know, a lot of time, and I share this with you simply because I'm passionate about it, because my daughter tells me when I get older, she's gonna move me to Texas. And I'm like, that's what you think. You coming home, girlfriend. Take care of your mother. But we are working to improve the race relations in Ferguson. Some of you all may know at one time Ferguson was a sundown town. After 5 o'clock, African Americans were not allowed to be in Ferguson. So we have grown since then, and we're continuing to grow.
So I am now going to pose a few questions to the mayors. We will also, do I have to unmute this?
Well, can we just, we can tilt it that way.
You know what? I here, and they will actually see me if I talk a little bit. I have some questions, and we will be directing those to I will start the ladies, I'm sorry, the mayors. We will also be taking questions from the floor and through the chat. So we get through the first couple and see where we go. The first question is actually a series of sort of interrelated questions, and that's, how differently do men and women govern? Do they govern differently? Does being a woman or being African American or minority make a difference in the way a mayor leads and governs? So, since we went pink,
I'll start.
good. All right.
Men truly govern. Their leadership is totally different than women. We are nurturers. Men are not. They're not. They're just hardcore. They don't see things the way we see them. As the leadership in Ferguson, men tend to listen, but they don't listen. You know what I mean? They say, okay, Mayor, we're gonna do this and that. And I always share with them, I say, okay, this will be a great idea if we do it this way. Sure, however, they want to put their twist on it. And when it comes back, it's like, okay, I'll work with that. Men tend to believe that everything can be solved in an instance, right away. It takes time. It's a process. Everything is a process, and you have to work with that process to get it to where you want it to be. It's not no problem can be resolved overnight, and everything is a process. So with my leadership, I work closely with my city manager and I work with the council. And when you have 7 different personalities, it is the mayor's responsibility to try to get all these personalities on the train at the same time to get to the destination that we want to reach. And on my council, I have 2 men and the rest of us are women. And they want their way sometimes, and a lot of times they can't get their way. However, but the policies that we have dictates how we should proceed.
This really may be shocking, but the men that I work with on council are extremely supportive of me, extremely supportive. I actually had a conversation with them about focusing on equity because in my bio, you all learned that I am a mother of 3 children, one that just turned 11 in March, and then I have twins that are 6. And so I know how difficult it is to make a meeting. And I made sure to get a Roku stick and a bunch of snacks and juice boxes and a little refrigerator, and all of that is in my office. So when I have to have a meeting and I cannot get a babysitter, I'm a single parent. So when I cannot get a babysitter, then I'm like, okay, babies, you all are in my office while I'm on the dais. If they want to sit in the chambers, they can. If they don't like to, they prefer to watch Netflix, and I understand. But I say all that because I went to my colleagues and I told them, I said, look, we need to address how there is an issue with equity for people with children that want to serve as public servants. What can we do? And right now, the problem is we could look into it, but it's going to cost a substantial amount of money to try to put something together for volunteers that want to serve on a commission or a board or on council, but also have some type of stipend to assist with daycare. But to have that conversation with the men that I have on my council and for them to be receptive of it, for them to say, yeah, you know what, we actually do need something like that, was actually comforting to me. I will say though that the prior mayor for Maplewood was a man, and from his tenure, what Mayor Jones described as how men operate, that's what I saw as well. And to each their own, but I think that who I get to work with on council right now understand the importance of equity and how difficult it can be. They also understand the importance of a woman being a leader, and I appreciate that as well.
Thank you. I'm going to take the opportunity to thank the 2 men in the audience here right now.
Yes.
One of whom's my son, so I sort of had to do that. So it's interesting to me, this question and what we're talking about tonight, a lot of it, it's very hard for me to separate my experience as a mayor from my past profession, which had a lot to do with studying how women behave in the political realm. And so what's really interesting is that they both set up the 2 parts of what I like to think about when you think about this question. Mayor Jones talked about sort of the behavior of women as leaders versus the behavior of men as leaders. And everything that you said is demonstrated in all of the political science literature about political leadership. Focus on consensus building is greater from women. Women tend to interrupt less at meetings, and so conversation is often richer because of that. People can complete their own thought. The public sees women as more compassionate and empathetic, and women leaders tend to have a more democratic style. And all of those things are things that I have aspired to as a leader. And you know, I have the same though experience also as Mayor Knapper, in that the men on my council are very supportive. But what you mentioned in your example about equity and the discussion about equity is one of the differences in leadership is also our lived experiences. You knew that the conversation needed to have something to do with childcare because of the experience you had. Maybe they did not. They agree with you, but they wouldn't necessarily bring that issue forward. So one of the other things about women in leadership is that the kinds of issues that get raised and time is allocated to can be different because of those lived experiences.
Okay.
We're going to be fair and democratic.
Yeah. Your turn.
Okay.
Are there advantages, in your opinion, to dealing with municipal government as a woman or as an African-American person? And if so, what are those advantages? Right?
I wish you could see it. Look, I want you to look. Advantages. No. No, it's hard. I think that there are benefits to those who we serve, because I am a woman, because I am an African American person, because I am an African American woman. There are benefits to the work that I do, because I have seen a lot in this body, in these shoes, and it propels me to look in nooks and crannies for those that are in desperate need. So like it's definitely a benefit, but no, I'm sorry, there's no advantage, and that's so sad. Okay.
No, it's not any advantages about being a Black woman, and I'm from the 60s, you know, and we do Black more than African American, being in municipal government. The only thing I see that's different is people tend to call on us more. They will go straight, Mayor. I'm like, you got two council people, call them first. No, Mayor, we want to talk to you. But there's no advantage. People treat you how you want to be treated. You have to teach them how to treat you. So, and in doing so, people tend to understand more of what you are trying to do for the community. Personally, myself, I am a hands-on person. I'm always out in the community. And I often get criticized about that because, oh, you stay in the streets a lot. I said, yeah, that's where the people are. That's where the people are. I go where the people are. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's even better.
I really don't have much to add because I don't think there are any advantages. I would say one of the things I enjoy about being a woman as mayor is I have a lot of Girl Scout troops that come, and we pretend that they are making policy for the city. And I just love how excited they are about that. Would they get as excited with the man who was mayor? Maybe, probably. But I get to have that experience and at least show them who they can be if they like this.
What advice would you give to any woman deciding to run for office? And I'm curious, how many people in the room have run for office before?
This is right in my wheelhouse. We just have done with it. And so it's not actually just running for office, it's also stepping forward to serve on a board and commission in your community. We just went through what is called the Appointments Project in Webster Groves with United We. I know the National Women's Political Caucus is doing a round of it as well. And that is a central question to this webinar. And my response always is, your experience is enough experience. Women tend to think I have to go through my resume and pad it and get more and do this and do that, and then I'll be ready. You're ready based on what you've done with your life because you have a perspective that is valuable to every one of our communities. And so just step forward, use that voice in the way that suits you the best, and you're gonna be fine.
I echo what Mayor Arnold just said. I actually had that conversation with a community member, who's a woman, last week. And I was trying to get her to run for council. And she said, oh, I just don't think that, I have enough experience and I have this, that, and the other. And I said, you know what, this is what women do. They will look at a job posting and then they'll go through all of the requirements on the posting and they'll say, oh, well, I only meet like, 75% of what's there. But then there are men who will meet 30 to 50% and they will apply. And I told her that. And I was like, you don't have to meet all of the requirements. Just meet some. And then other people will lift you up and help you along the way. And so that would be the advice that I would give to someone that was interested in running. If you have an interest, that's all. That's all you need. That is a spark. And when you tell other people about that spark that you have, I guarantee you other people will fan that flame and you'll be good. Yeah.
Okay. Ditto to everything they said. You are enough. You are enough. And you don't need to try to be like anyone else. You are enough. Get you a mentor, talk to someone who is in the position and pick their brains. And I tell people all the time, if you can convince a man to marry you, you can do anything. Well, this is true. Think about it. Think about it.
I love your answers. How often do you get discounted because you're a woman from both men and other women? How do you deal with it? Can you give us any examples?
Discounted? Not me. Really, I don't have that problem, simply because you have to feel what's in your guts. It's down here. And negative, when it's discounted, let me switch it to negativity. You always around it. However, it becomes your decision to stay in it or move on. And when people tend, I don't know, I guess when they tend to say the mayor doesn't know what she's doing or she doesn't know how to do something, I just look at them and say, okay, watch me.
I, like Mayor Jones, I don't really think I've experienced that. If it's happening, I don't notice it. Because as soon as someone wants to tell me no or disregard what I'm saying, I'm just gonna find a way around it. So I guess that's why I think I just don't recognize it if that's happening to me, because if something is standing in my way, I guarantee you I'll find a solution to get around it. And so I think that would, I don't think you asked for advice, but this is unsolicited advice. You know, like you feel like that's happening where it's just like, oh, so-and-so is telling me no, and he's not, I'm sorry, I said he, but he or she is not paying attention to me, then find someone that's going to. Just, you have to find solutions.
So I'm going to agree for two reasons. One, I think there's a little bit of self-selection going on. If you choose to run for mayor, it's because you've decided that you want to be heard. And when you want to be heard, then you will either ignore or go around the people who don't want to hear you. I think for me also all my life, I'm a 6 foot tall white woman, and I look most men in the eye or down on some of them. And I think frankly, that goes a long way.
I'm with it. I love it.
So
Okay.
do you think that, I'm 68, and some of you are younger than that here. Do you think this is an age-related thing? Is the world getting better for women?
No. No. I understand the question, but majority of you all in this room fought for reproductive rights, gained the reproductive rights for us, thank you. And now they are being stripped away from us again. No. So, no, I'm sorry. What is the question again? I got some comments on that. I'm sorry.
I was just speculating that perhaps someone who is younger perhaps hasn't experienced quite as much of the pushback because perhaps barriers were already broken. But I think your example of reproductive rights certainly goes a long way.
Yes,
there.
you know what though? I have not experienced as much as Mayor Jones. I can tell you that right now. Thank you, Mayor Jones, for everything that you've done to bring us forward. I will say that Mayor Jones is my mentor. When she said get yourself a mentor, she's one of my mentors. And I will say that if anything, I am learning from her. So then when she says, okay, I'm done, and my God will say good job to me, then I can then I will step in her place and I will carry on. But I haven't experienced as much as she has, and she has done a lot for me. And I appreciate you.
You're welcome. I love you.
Okay, sorry.
I think we'll let that. I have experienced a lot. However, my number one goal in this life right now is to reach behind me and pull someone up. I have one with me now, Tiffany. I've been mentoring, talking with her, elevated her to my campaign manager. And she said, I'll say, you can do it. And she did it. First time. You have to be in a place in your life where you are secure. Your self-worth is not determined by someone else. And when you reach that stage in your life, you don't have to be older, but it's just a mindset. Your self-worth, your self-esteem, then you could reach back and bring someone alongside of you. Professor Shirley Emerson, she's here tonight. We're always talking, always social economic development. Those are the things that are important. And when women see other women reaching, bringing them forward, then they will develop that attitude that it's okay to be a leader. Because we were born leaders. Let me stop right there.
I'll just add one quick thing here, and it goes back to Mayor Jones again, because she may not remember this, but the first time we met was at a cocktail party the night before a women's candidate training in Umsel, and I happened to sit down next to her, and I didn't have any idea what I was doing at that point. Not a single, you can study about politics, but then to do it, that's a totally different thing. And you sat there for 25 minutes and basically walked me through how I should run my campaign. And then I came back to Webster Groves and I set my campaign up that way. So it doesn't, you two are partners in this, but also 20 minutes of mentorship helped me figure out what I was going to do. So it is the investment fully in another woman and spending time, over time, spending more time with them. But it's also a word of advice here or there that has been incredibly helpful to me. And that comes from experiences of previous generations of women who have tried and failed, tried and succeeded, tried again and again.
All right. We are going to change course a little bit here and talk about racial justice and gender equity on the municipal level. And I want to ask a somewhat theoretical question as we start that, which is, what does success look like on racial justice in a community like yours? What does it look like for gender equity? And as you know, the follow-up is going to be what's happening in your community. But let's talk about the theory first.
Seems a little strange for me to start this, but I'm going to start this. And that, I think, what does it look like to me as a mayor, but also as a community member? And that is that the full range of people who live in Webster Groves feel as if they are represented. But that means I can look at someone and say, there's a woman, there's somebody who has my other demographic characteristics that's serving in office. But even more importantly than that is, there are places within my community where I feel like I can have a voice and people will listen and incorporate what I have to say in the decision-making process. And I think for us, specifically, there are really sort of two things that when you think about doing this, what does success look like? There's the success you can measure, like what does the composition of our staff look like? What do we know about how we provide services? Are those equitably provided? But then there's also the more abstract idea as when somebody comes into Webster Groves, no matter who they are, do they feel comfortable? Do they feel welcome? Do they feel like this is a place that they could make their home? And if they don't, what are we doing wrong that makes them feel like they are not welcome there? And that's not passing a law, that's trying to understand how you build community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Success in a community, to me, is everyone has a voice. And with their voice, someone is listening to bring that result that would help not only that person, but the whole community. That's success. When living in a diverse community, we have people who've been there 45 years. We have the young people coming in who full of change, but having the opportunity to put both of these people to sets at the table and having the opportunity to talk to one another. And everyone leaves with a new idea that they can do and implement in their particular neighborhood. We have neighborhood meetings and people come from all walks of life. Everyone from the lady who lives next door to another lady who has a dog and the dog gets out and poop on the lawn, to the man who has the tree growing in his backyard and his neighbor is complaining because some of the branches are over in his yard, to the kids riding bikes up and down the streets, and the seniors seem to believe that they should go to the park and ride their bikes. Bringing all of that together makes a community, and everyone talking about it and finding a solution that's gonna help all of us. That's the key. I am not greater than my neighbor, but my neighbor and I can get together and make our community the best place. I always share with people, Ferguson is the best place to live, work, and play, from the businesses to the parks to everything. However, people must understand we have to coexist together. And only when we are willing to work with one another, we can continue to have a great community.
So I definitely echo what Mayor Arnold and Mayor Jones said about making sure that everyone is heard. And I will speak specifically to Maplewood because that is a success. In Maplewood, what that success looks like is we have a lot of transgender babies in our school district. And so when I say I am making sure that everyone is heard, I'm talking about babies, I'm talking about transgender babies, I'm talking about babies that identify in the LGBTQ plus community. I am talking about babies that have free and reduced lunches in their families, everyone. And the success that we have is, I think you all know, your local government, your council can only do so much. You know, if you're really going to have change, you're going to see it come out of Jefferson City. And while we are seemingly, in my opinion, in dire straits right now, I do have hope. The state of Michigan was able to change things, and it took 12 years, and so I'm just going to have hope for Missouri as well, and I'm going to continue to fight. But I'm going to continue to fight because, like my colleagues have said, that you have to make sure that everyone is being heard. You have to make sure that when they are heard, you are also responding to them. You're not just listening. It's not just going into a vacuum and nothing is ever done. So our council has had, we have had resolutions in support of, like Juneteenth. We recognize Juneteenth. We make Juneteenth a holiday now. In the city, we recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. We recognize Transgender Day of Visibility. Again, it's not much that our council can do, but at least we can say, we see you, we want you here, you're welcome here, you are our community. And so to me, that's what our success looks like. We're definitely not done, but we're pushing forward.
So where in our metro area do you see the most progress and success on racial justice issues and gender issues?
Where?
Where? Looking at your,
The most success.
the most success. If we are all in agreement, and I think we are, that no one's 100% there, where are we succeeding? Are those models for us?
Well, as the mayor of Maplewood, I'm going to say Maplewood.
Well played.
No, thank you. Thank you. I would say okay. So that joke aside, I do stand on this. I would say Maplewood, and the reason why is because, like Mayor Jones said about Ferguson, Maplewood was also known as a sundown town, and now from the time that it was known as a sundown town to now, me serving as the mayor of Maplewood and having Black children, particularly, I want to focus on my Black sons. I am not afraid for them to walk out of our house, down the street, to the grocery store, or to the pizza shop, and away from me. I'm not afraid for them to be out of my sight. And I'm not afraid of, because I'm not afraid of our police. Our police department is purposefully making sure that it is also embedding equity into its department. And I have seen that through our chief Knapper, as well as our city manager, making sure that when we were looking for a chief of police, our city manager made sure to have community members serve on the hiring panel. And so that is just one success that I can speak to, but I'm sharing that one with you all because it touches home so much for me.
Okay. Everyone knows that Ferguson is under consent decree. The DOJ found some irregularities going on into Ferguson. However, we have been working diligently to come into compliance for the consent decree. And last night we had a dialogue, Let's Talk Ferguson. And we had people from all walks of life. And one thing I do love about that is the consent decree coordinator. She and I went out and we found people to take a part in this dialogue. Long as we continue to talk, it's about that conversation. When people stop communicating, that's where the problems begin. We must keep the lines of communication. The seniors, with the staff, everything. Success to me is communication. Success to me is understanding that the more we talk, the more you're going to learn how I walk in these shoes, and respect how I walk in these shoes, and the same for the other person. Ferguson has been serving as a model ever since 2014. Ferguson is known as ground zero. If something happens in Maplewood, they're gonna come to Ferguson to protest. That's the way it is. And we do understand that. And we work on a daily basis, on a consistent basis, to let people know that we have not arrived. It's going to take some time, but we're not where we used to be. And that's the key. Step by step, we have the Neighborhood Police Steering Committee. They interact with the police department on a daily basis for training, for communication, everything. Having a new police chief, hope. That's all it is. Keeping hope alive. That within the next year, we could see the light at the end of the tunnel of being in compliance with the consent decree. And that's not going to only take the staff and the council. It's all of us, everyone who identifies themselves as a citizen of Ferguson, it's their responsibility too.
So I sit in a very different position when it comes to this question, in part because Webster Groves is a very strongly majority white. We are 92% white. Our African-American population is about 5%. If you go back 30, 40 years, we're talking about a Black population of 12 or 13%. So when I was growing up, we were a more diverse community. And so for us as a community, our question has to be, how did we get here? Why did we get here? And do we want to be here? we could just say we're not gonna do anything, and frankly, we'll probably continue to get whiter. And we're also becoming less economically diverse than we once were. And I think we now have arrived at the point as a city government that has said, wait a minute, there is value in diversity in our community. There is value in what many of us, my experience growing up and going to Webster Public Schools was very different than my kids' experience of Webster schools because of more diverse classrooms and things that I experienced that they didn't have the same benefit of. So we right now as a community have decided that we really want to talk about this. We want to do something about this. So we have our first diversity, equity, inclusion full study and audit that we did about 18 months ago, and have started down a road of being much more aware of several different things, both inside and outside of city government. But what people want us to somehow turn this around in a year or two. It's a long-standing problem, and it's going to take sustained effort over time for us to be that place that I said that anybody who comes says, oh yeah, I might like to live here. Oh, look, that neighborhood fits me, or this neighborhood fits me. But that is both intentional policy that is made and it's community building. And we at City Hall can work on the policy. The community building part is the part that's really going to be hard and goes back to your statement of communication and understanding other people's lives.
All right, I have one or two more questions, and then I'm going to open it up to the floor. So what is the hardest decision you have had to make in your political life?
I thought I was going to get out of here without talking about firefighters for once. For those of you who don't know, the City Council in Webster Groves recently withdrew from our collective bargaining agreement with our firefighters because we had reached an impasse in our bargaining. I absolutely 100% believe in collective bargaining. I 100% believe in union membership and the support that unions give to workers. And so, to be honest, that was the hardest thing I've ever done, is to support our withdrawal from that. And I'm not going to say anything more because we're in litigation. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, y'all don't see my hand. For me, the most difficult decision that I've had to make is to decide to run for re-election, because serving as an administrative judge for the United States Department of Agriculture, plus the mayor of Maplewood, which is supposed to be a part-time job, but I don't do anything part-time.
Supposed to be.
Right, right, that is not part-time. And so that is a lot of time that I'm taking away from my children. And so, that it was difficult to come to the decision to run again. I will run again. I'm up for re-election next year. And should my community choose me to serve them in this capacity again, this will be my last time. Because I am really giving my life. This is not like a 9 to 5. Every time I say yes to a committee or to creating a mayor's elder task force, I'm saying no to sitting with my children and watching TV. Or, oh my gosh, the first year of my service as mayor, my children were starting to ask me, Mommy, are you going to be home with us to have dinner? I was like, okay, I need to rearrange my schedule because I don't want my children asking me that. And so just things like that, just knowing that the time that I am giving to our community, I am taking away from my children. And so I can't do that for a very long time. So they choose me. This is the last go around. And then I'm focused on the Canal kids. So.
Yeah.
The most hardest thing is accepting the resignation of our last city manager. And I say that simply because I poured so much into him and talked with the council to hire him. Young Black man, 28 years old. He was gay. I didn't see it. I just wanted him to do a job. That was my only thing. And I kept sharing with him, we hired you because you have the potential to grow in this community. And being a young Black man, that makes a big statement. But the way in which he felt how he was being treated bruised him. It hurt him, and he could not stay. And that hurt me because it was a great opportunity for him, and he could grow there. But the emotions and it didn't work out. That hurts simply because here was a great opportunity and some people made him feel ugly, bad. And we couldn't get him past that. And that was just a hard decision because you all read it in the paper, he resigned the first time and I said, no. But he couldn't get past it.
My final question is, what has been your proudest moment as a mayor?
I have so many of them. My proudest moment as a mayor is when we come together for events. Unity Weekend, the Twilight Run, 4th of July Parade, those are great moments. People don't care who's standing beside them. Everyone is laughing and talking and just enjoying the moment. I love that. I'm a people person, so when people come together at different events, that makes me feel good.
So I'm a bit hard on myself. I have a very lofty goal to see housing created in Maplewood, and I have not reached that goal yet. And so I have had wonderful moments that I'm proud of, but once I get that, that will be my proudest moment. So I'm just gonna manifest that. I want to be able to, contact you all and say, okay, on this day in 2024, 2025, I've had my proudest moment. But until that date, I will say that the day that I was sworn in and my babies were by my side when I was being sworn in, that was my proudest. So my first day.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. So next Tuesday is my 1-year anniversary. So I haven't been mayor that long. But there are a couple of things. I absolutely relate to the events in the community and being part of those. I relate to this being proud. I've mentioned him once, I'm gonna mention him twice, so he's really gonna hate me. But my son tweeted how proud he was the day that I got sworn in. And there's nothing like having your kids be proud of you. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely it, but I'm also gonna take there's some things that are in the works that if we can get that job done, I will raise my hand and say, today is the day.
Yes. So, do we have questions? I am going to put
microphone on the stand, and then we will repeat the question here so that the people on the Zoom can hear it. And then do we have questions from the Zoom? Yeah, okay. So let's take one or two from the floor first.
Thank you. My name's Rebecca, and I know all three of these wonderful ladies. I admire all of them so much. My question is for Laura Arnold, and this is a discussion about gender and race. And Laura, it's about the city manager.
I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah. Just because not only is Laura a new mayor that has taken over from a longtime mayor, but the new city manager took over from a longtime city manager. The new city manager happens to be an African-American woman from out of state. So there's also the, not in our backyard kind of belief. And this person has gotten a lot of a pushback from the community, a great deal of acrimony that is quite, to me, is astonishing. What's your take on that, Mayor Arnold, as to how this woman is being treated?
She's being treated horribly, and she's being treated horribly both in public and in private. The degree to which she is subjected to racist and sexist voicemails is abhorrent. The degree to which people on social media are willing to just be on the attack is terrible. And I think it's three things. I don't know how to weight the three things necessarily, but it's that she was brought in expressly. I was a council member at the time she was hired, including my predecessor as mayor, expressly to modernize us as a city government. That's hard. She is a woman who is supervising a workforce that is pretty diverse in terms of gender and for us pretty diverse in terms of race, but the places she's gotten the most heat are from the police department and the fire department, both male dominated areas of our staff, and she's Black. And we have had once in our history, African-American man who was city manager. But I think if you put those three things together, yes, race matters, yes, gender matters, and yes, the fact that it's change-oriented matters. The thing that's really, really discouraging to me about it is you could not ask for a smarter, more hardworking person in that job right now, who is so willing to dig into every tough problem we have. And coming out of COVID, we've got some really tough problems in our budget and the way we are actually managing our workflow and things like that. So my take on how she's been treated is she's been treated horribly. She and I have a very good relationship. We meet every Monday to talk through everything that's going on in the city. We talk almost daily, if not daily, through the week about how things are going on. So one of the other things that's really disheartening about it is certain members of the community have chosen to focus on her as the cause of trouble, as if she's the one driving the changes in our community. She's doing what the city council has asked of her to do, nothing more and nothing less. And I think that because of who she is, that it's easier to make her the target than hold the rest of us all responsible.
Right. Oh, that was just for me. I don't know why I'm handing it to you. But that's the truth in my situation too. Yeah.
My name's Cody May. I am a grad student at Webster University, and I also intern at St. Louis Community College. I'm an advocate for mental health and kind of diving into the world of women. Most of my clients, majority of my clients are women, figuring out how I can better serve women, but also figuring out where the gaps are in support. You spoke a lot about some of the strengths of women in leadership: resiliency, empathy, compassion, being more democratic. I've always looked at women as being more egalitarian. But you also spoke about some of the struggles, and I heard equity being a big one. But also just the balancing of responsibilities that men traditionally, we don't step up to the plate as much on that front. So I was curious if you could speak to some mental health struggles that you've had for being women in leadership, and then B, maybe speak to some of the gaps outside of equity in terms of the support for women seeking leadership roles.
And can one of you repeat what you understand through the question?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
That's her question.
Thank you for that question, Cody. So I believe the first part was speak to the mental health aspect of being in leadership. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So again, thank you for that question. I am in a group chat with other mayors, and we talk about how we receive a lot of threats and how those threats affect us, of course, in a negative way. It's good for me to be a part of that group because that is a place where I'm like, this is a safe space. I can speak to other women mayors who understand what I'm going through. So I would say if you need to have a space where you can talk freely and not be judged, and someone, even if they don't understand, they say, at least I hear you, I see you. That does help. I will say social media is evil. Okay, I'm sorry, I just said it's evil. People, I didn't realize until we went through COVID how detached people can get from kindness and just respect and civility. And so I will deal with attacks that come online, and it's always wise not to respond. And so then you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just getting beat up. And when I feel like that, I do feel alone, especially because you have people that may support you. I have people that support me, but they don't want to get involved with that because they don't want to be the target. They don't want to be bullied or harassed. And so having to deal with that on top of the responsibilities and the guilt that I sometimes feel as being a mother to young children, but wanting to do this work for the community. I just enrolled in a yoga membership with Urban Breath in Maplewood because I'm like, I need to do something. I'm late, but I got a COVID dog. So now I have a puppy and I'm like, okay, you're gonna force me to go out and walk. Like, I'm serious, man. It's just like, oh my gosh, because I can start to feel the pressure on me. And so it's like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to take care of myself. And if I have to get a cute little puppy that forces me to walk to do that, then that's what I do. So yeah, but it's heavy. It's heavy. It's a lot. Being mayor for being a woman and mayor for some women in different locations is dangerous. This is not. I tell you what, a woman running for mayor, a woman running for office is not doing it just so she can have a title. Because there's too much negative things that come with it in this space, and I just appreciate you recognizing that. Yeah, there's mental health needs to be discussed. You had a second question or follow up?
Yeah, and I think you touched it. My follow-up question on the second part was just, what are some of the gaps in support for women who do want to run for these leadership roles?
Yeah, so I won't speak too much longer, but I'll just say the gaps in support is people not taking threats seriously when women receive them. And I'm saying women because I'm talking about all women. When a woman says that they do not feel comfortable or that they need to be walked to their car because it's dark, like, believe them. They need that. They're not saying that out of nowhere, right? And so I think I would appreciate for everyone to take it more seriously when women say, we need cover. Yeah. Thank you.
Mental health. mental health. That's stability. You need a support system. I have two support systems. I have my political support system, where I talk to the mayors. And then I have my girlfriends who don't want to talk about politics. I be within two. I know when I need to talk to my political girlfriends. Social media is being misused. And I say that coming from being the mayor of Ferguson, I get blamed for everything. Everything. If it's raining outside, Mayor Jones made it rain. I get blamed for everything. Now, do I buy into it? Is the question. No. However, does it get to me sometimes? Of course it does. I'm human. If you cut me, my blood is red just like everyone else. But I have that support system. And I have girlfriends that will call me and say, let's go to lunch, let's go shopping. That's my non-political people. And then I have that support system and they say, don't go on Facebook today, you're not gonna like what's out there. I'm like, okay, I don't have to go. But the most important thing about all of this, you got to know who you are and whose you are. And if you don't have that communication going up, it will get to you. And I send out the word every day. I send out the word every day. And people call me, Ella, the word is late today. I said, okay, I'm gonna get to the word, I'm gonna get to the word. But you have to stay prayed up enough. And you have to believe within yourself that you are doing the right thing at the right time for the people. And that's the key. That is the key. Find your support system. Let them talk on Facebook. But make certain you have somebody that you can vent to. And they won't judge your venting. They're just, okay, I give you an hour. I know I need two. No, you only have an hour. But that support system is very important. And stay prayed up enough. Just pray. No, it's okay.
A couple more. Yeah, thanks. She's the president. I have been able to speak already, but I would want to follow up. Actually, thank you for that question, Cody, because that has always been one of the concerns I've had when I've thought about ever serving publicly, was the threat to myself and of course the threat to my children that might occur. So I'm wondering, what can we do as a community to support you? You've talked about what you do, which I really admire, but I think we need to rise up and say that's enough of that stuff. But I'd like to know if you have any specific ways in which our community could support you to do something about that violence toward leadership, but especially female leadership and females everywhere, female reporters, you know, female executives. It seems like it's just being targeted at any woman who has any public face. So if you have any ideas, I'd like to organize some work around that.
What can community members do to support women that are facing?
Protect, to do something to address the kind of threats you're getting, the kind of public, I mean, I call it violence, but basically it's the kind of stuff you were just talking about, the social media, the people disrespecting you, the fear that you feel, all of those kinds of things.
Do you want me to? Okay. Thank you. Because it is a beautiful thing when someone says, what can we do to help? Thank you. So briefly, I would say two things. Continue to ask that question. And then so continue to ask that question, and depending on who you're asking, you might get a different response. But I'm going to take that as you asking me, and my response to you would be, please be engaged with your local government. I know that we put so much emphasis, and we just the proverbial we as a whole, we put so much emphasis on our state government, on our federal government, but there are things that you can do in your local government to make a change and an impact so quickly and very directly where you live, right? And so if you are engaged in your local government and you are asking your representatives on your council, what do you need in the form of ensuring that you are okay and you're not receiving threats and things like that. It may just be a conversation like, what does it look like to have an ordinance that is, more punitive if harassment is being done to people, period, right? For example, in Maplewood, we had a hate crime ordinance, but it was so lax, and I received two complaints of harassment from community members with receiving like cardboard cutouts of male genitalia with glitter. And then it had some crass statement that came with it. And you weren't able to find out where it came from because they went through like some service to have it sent. They were being harassed, and they were scared. So I'm hearing this, and the only thing that I could do was go to council and say, so we have a hate crime ordinance, but it's so lax. It allows for something to go to the county, and then, the county picks it up, and then the county will prosecute it. But if they don't pick it up, nothing really happens. We changed that. And after we changed that ordinance and we said, okay, if it goes to the county kicks it back to us, you are going to pay a lot of money. And if you can, we're going to lock you up because you're not going to harass people, right? And so that right there, it may seem so small, but I wish somebody would try that again, right? And get caught. So keep asking that question because your local government can do something. It may not be what the state can do, but we can do something.
I'm going to just talk about the social media aspects of this very, very briefly, because one thing that, people are called keyboard warriors for a reason. Their level of confrontation and what they will do behind a computer that they won't do in person is astonishing to me sometimes. And one of the things that I find gratifying when I see it, if somebody has said something about myself or the city manager or the council in a very accusatory or threatening way, or especially when it's accusatory, how do you know that? Have you called? Just the response from people doesn't have to be, well, you're wrong, you don't know. Have you talked to Mayor Arnold about this? The answer is always no, I can tell you that. But it's a way to remind everybody else who's reading that this is one person who has one idea, who has probably very little idea what they're talking about. So that's one thing on social media. And then second, I like the idea of, ordinances and things. The other thing you could do is tell people they're doing a good job, or that you're supporting, even if they did something you don't like, you could say, I disagree with you on that, but I'm happy that you're trying to do this work. Because, often what happens is you are overwhelmed by the negative, that just a few positive things along the way can get you through a day or a week in ways that you all would be surprised how beneficial it is.
Amen, friend. Amen.
Next question.
So we are not going to get to all the questions. I apologize for that. We have several on the floor, but we also have several from the chat. One of which is, what are your thoughts about a city-county merger? How could it impact social justice issues such as economic and racial disparities? I give you each 2 minutes and then maybe next year we'll have a program on that issue all by itself.
Nobody wants to hear.
No.
I'm just gonna turn it right here like this. I'm gonna let you answer.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with Mayor Jones and say no. I am gonna say this, though. I think all of us in the municipalities of St. Louis County are facing some of the same problems about revenues not keeping up with expenses. And we do a lot of services as individual municipalities or fire districts or whatever. We're gonna have to figure out ways to work together more efficiently. That doesn't mean giving up who we are as communities, but that means finding partnerships that work for multiple communities at the same time. So there is something short of a merger that I think can help equity of service. I think it can help municipal governments that are struggling, but no, let's not use the M word as in merger here, because that's the end of all of us up here, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
One more question? Way in the back.
I'm Julia, and I live in Richmond Heights, and my kids went to the Clayton School District. And when you talked about communication with the police and the mayor, I'm just astounded at how comforting this feels. This feels like normal, real world things, because Richmond Heights and Clayton have just been beyond anything I can even possibly tell you about. My family's been the victim of severe violations for several years now, completely unaddressed. I've had to go confront the mayor and the police chief and the city council more than one occasion and take risks for my children and myself when the retaliation is really, really bad and there's absolutely no accountability. And when I talk about crimes, I'm genuinely serious, very, very serious things. There's no I've lived outside of St. Louis, but I grew up around here in Brentwood. I don't know what to do. I don't feel safe in my own home. My children are very much compromised, and it's been going on for quite a while. I don't know if you have any suggestions or if there's anybody who can help me. I'm pretty good as a social worker and advocating for other people and for myself. I worked with homeless people for years, and I've never encountered anything in my life like this.
So I am going to put on my attorney hat and tell you that, I'm sorry from hand, and tell you that if you have not contacted legal services in Eastern Missouri.
I tried.
And what happened? Well, don't go into detail, but try again. And then if that doesn't work, then try Arch City Defenders. Actually try both. Don't wait for one or the other, but try both. It seems like you may need to have some legal counsel. And once have you contacted Arch City Defenders?
Yeah, and I need to get back to them.
Okay. There's hope. So yeah, but try that.
But I mean, you know, a person feels like when they're, I mean, if I can go to a city council meeting and say that it took a lot of courage to do that, to say that these things, knowing I'm gonna get retaliation, and I do, and they laugh at me and they threaten me, they call me crazy. You know, it's something that they're being paid by my tax dollars to respond to, and for years now, and nothing. I shouldn't have to hire a lawyer that I don't really have the money for, you know, it just.
That's why I suggested those two firms, because they're pro bono. But
And we're gonna have to move on.
yeah.
All right, I do have one more from the chat people, which is, what are some of the things you would tell women trying to find their voice in an organization where men are the leaders?
Oh, that's a good question. Easy. Make certain you get a seat at the table. Make certain you get a seat at the table. Bring your own chair, bring your own plate, bring your own fork, bring your own knife. If they crack the door, you push it open. Be there. Listen to what they're saying. And when you speak, they will listen.
anything that Mayor Jones said, and then my addition to that would be find allies, because not all men want to, or not all men think the same. Not all men will treat you the same. There are some men that really want to be supportive of women and women in leadership, and find them. They're there, find them.
I would echo both things. The only thing I would add is it always helps me to be better prepared than just about anybody else at the table.
Well, thank you all. Thank you for coming, and thank you three for your frank and honest discussion here. We appreciate it. And I'm sorry we ran over for time, but here we are.
Yes.